road in the South Island of New Zealand, in a little town called Oamaru. Now, we've done a few live streams from here before. Let me get set up and we'll see who else is here with me. It's not overly warm at the moment, although it has been quite warm. Now, my apologies for the wind. If it gets too bad for the audio, we'll migrate inside the truck. Chat. Oh, I'm all on my own. Hoo-hoo! Just me in Oamaru. Who would have guessed? Now, Roger Heaps. Good morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Roger. And welcome to Oamaru. And as you can see, we're down by the old railway line. Just over there, there's a market going on outside the pub. Very nice. Good pub. Had a meal there last night. Excellent food. Great ambiance as always. Jim K, hello. Good morning, Jim. And welcome to Oamaru, sir. Purple Monkey 1974. Hi. Good morning, sir. And welcome to Oamaru. So, I left home on early Monday morning to whiz down to the ferry in Wellington. Bit of a trek. It's a good sort of 5-6 hours drive time. And ferry crossing was fine. We got into Picton just before 7 p.m. And then from there, the next morning, made it across to Nelson and Motueka. Had a visit in Motueka that afternoon. About lunchtime it kicked off. And then stayed in Nelson that night. Went to go and see the dealer in Nelson. Very productive visit, actually. A lot of technical talk going on, which was nice. And then we drove all the way to Hammer Springs, and they've had a lot of flooding in that area, and the road to Hammer Springs was littered with roadworks, so it was a very slow drive. Got in there quite late, but just enough time to get some food, which was great. Morning, Simon. Welcome back, mate. Welcome to Oamaru. So all is going to plan, apart from one problem. Yes. Now, yesterday was Saturday here in New Zealand. It's your Saturday in most parts of the world. Hey, up, we've got something come in. Hang on. Let's see what's going on. Messenger. Ping. Roger Heaps sent a photo. Oh, yes. Well done, Roger. Roger's had puppies. Look at that. Now, at the moment, they're very small. But they're going to get a lot bigger, aren't they, Roger? Yes, yes. And Mrs. Mechanic said, under no circumstances are we to have a Rogers puppy. It's too big. You know the story, Roger. It can't happen. But anyway, we had a major catastrophic failure on this trip. We did. Now, does anybody... Well, of course you'll recognise this. Just hang on, I'll show you. What's that? Yes, it's a chain. But do you know what it's from? Answers in the comments, please. And then I'll tell you all about the backstory to that chain problem. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. Timing chain? Not quite. A bit different. Well, I do work on them, and I have worked on them for a number of years here in New Zealand. And I'm a qualified mechanic in that field, as well as what I currently work in. There's a clue for you. Those that follow the channel will know. Come on, Simon, you know what it is. So, yes, there was a lot of roadworks, a lot of washouts, and the river down there was so much debris in the river. Lots of trees had come down, been washed downstream. Pretty bad, to be honest. A pedal bike, yes, you're right. Richard Perry, morning, Andy and crew. GB badge, which is there, yeah, and a big thumbs up. Morning, Richard. You're quite correct, Simon. It is from a pedal bike, and more specifically, yes, Roger Heaps got it. Mrs. Mechanic's bike chain. So on Saturday morning, I had an appointment. I had to go and get my hair sorted out because I go and see a lady called Taylor. Whenever I come to the South Island, as she works her magic, sort of. There's not much hair left to work, really, to be fair. But dropped Mrs. Mechanic off to go e-biking on a trail in the back of beyond. a little bit further away from where we'd planned. We ran a bit late, sorry Taylor, and just got sat down to get my hair sorted out, and I get this text, this message. Actually, it was a messenger message, and it was a picture of a broken chain. That chain. My chain's broken. I'm stranded. And I'm like, well, I can't get there for ages. We've started the hair process. I can't just, jump ship and head out and pick you up. So poor old Mrs. Mechanic had to go and sit under a tree for hours waiting for a collection. So on our way down, picked her up, got the hair sorted out, picked her up, and then went to get some food because she was starving Marvin she was. And then we headed down south through Ashburton, through Timaru, and finally to Oamaru. But on the way down, I said, Mrs. Mechanic, send Sheldon a message and see if he can organise a quick link for a 9-speed chain. And then that way we can get it fixed, because all the bike shops were closed, right? It was late in the afternoon, they'd all shut up shop. They were only open for the mornings, if they were even open. And sure enough, just before we rolled into Oamaru, Sheldon fired a message through, all sorted, 9-speed quick link in hand. So we've got what we need. And you're quite correct, she does need a chain tool in her backpack, and she was messaging Ben, hey, this is the problem, what do we need, while I was driving, so he gave her the specs because he knows the bike better than I do. And he says, right, we need to keep some of those spare ones in your little mini toolkit on your bike, and to show Mrs. Mechanic how to fit said quick link as well. So there's that, and I think Ben really needs to show her how to do punches. She might struggle a bit with a puncher because the tyres are a shit to get on and off on bicycle wheels these days, but it'd be good to show her at least. She might have a chance. But certainly a quick link, I reckon she could do that. She get oily hands, but she, as I have this morning, to be fair, from holding the chain. But in all honesty, it's not over oily, which might be one of the problems. But anyway, so we got into Oamaru last night about 6 o'clock. It'd be just after 6 p.m. we got here. And then went out for a meal, caught up with Sheldon, and there he is with the quick link. Thank you, Sheldon. You're a saviour, mate. Solve the problem for us. So we're actually going to head over to Sheldon's workshop after the live stream. I've got a couple of things to have a look at to help Sheldon with, and we're also going to fix the chain on Mrs. Mechanic's bike. And I think then we're going to blast down to Dunedin, and she's going to go cycling around Dunedin for a little bit, which would be pretty cool. She's not cycled around there before. And she's been filming some of her epic adventures on her push bike as well, on her e-bike, which is on the trailer at the moment. We can go and take a look in a minute. In actual fact, let's go and take a look now, because it's pretty cool, the setup that we've got. I'm just going to unplug you because you're on charge. Here we go. Turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boo. Right, so this is what we've got. You might remember, I'll go around this side first. You might remember the winch bracket that I made that's now on the trailer. Works brilliantly. And Ben said, hey, that's a receiver hitch style hitch thing. The bicycle rack should go on there. So he modified the bike rack a little bit, made a different style, bit to go in, welded it on, and it's absolutely brilliant. It works. This actually is a really good bicycle rack. The way that it holds the bike on, it's got like a clampy thing around the tyre there, look, which sort of holds the bike up. A little cradle for the front wheel, and another one for the back with a strap over it. And then we go and put these additional sort of bits on just to stop it swaying around a little bit, just reduces the movement. And it's been, oh Jesus, it's been really, really good. Really quick to get the bike off, quick to put the bike back on again. And of course, we secure the bike with a massively oversized motorcycle chain, so that and it's through the chassis down there, look, you see, so nobody's going to steal the bike. It really isn't worth their effort to get that off there. But other than that, other than the fact it's now missing a chain, yes, not for long, we're going to fix it. It's been really good. Mrs. Mechanic's done, I think that was her 3rd ride from memory. So she got 2 rides under her belt before the chain snapped, and she's got lots more planned, so we've got to get it fixed, right? Very, very cool. And the little trailer, doing brilliantly. Can't fault that little trailer. It's covered a lot of Ks, is that trailer. Hundreds of thousands of kilometres. But it's a lot better with the big tyres on, the heavy duty tyres and heavy duty wheels. And the new deck's great with all the eyelets and stuff on it. Very cool. Bruce Cleaver. Morning, Andy. Long time no speak. Yes. Very long time, sir. Welcome back. Right, now, what have I got? Oh, we've got a pie. Let me go and find the pie. It's in here somewhere whilst we're wandering around. Oh, thought we were locked out for a second then. So, we've got, trying to keep it warm, but it's not going to be warm, steak, cheese and jalapeno from the Coupland's bakery in Oamaru. And the lady there said, it's going to be good. It's going to be hot. All you'll taste is jalapenos. It might be too hot for me. The last one we did, the BP one, was hot enough. But I thought, when I saw this, I thought, ooh, we've got a direct comparison. Brilliant. So stick you over there. Turn you round. Boom. Okay, we're back. Right, so let's crack into the pie now before it gets too cold. Now, today's live stream is going to be limited to just an hour, all going to plan, because we've got to get down to Sheldon's workshop and get that bicycle fixed. Amongst other things to have a look at as well, to be fair. There's other stuff to do. What's that on the top? I'm not over keen on that one. Right, okay, we're going in. It's warm, okay? It's just warm. Where do we get to? I've caught up with the comments. So once we've done Dunedin, we've got to Dunedin. Mrs. Mechanic's done it. Wow, that's warm. Definitely taste the jalapeno. She was right. It's not often I get a chance to have a Coupland's bakery pie. But they're not bad. Not bad at all. I would say we would definitely give the Wild Bean Cafe equivalent steak, cheese and jalapeno pie a run for its money. The pastry on this is actually better. The Wild Bean Cafe ones are a bit dry. This is a lot nicer pastry, I must admit. So we're staying in Dunedin tonight, and then got a meeting in the morning. Got to go to a motorcycle workshop which has closed down, and they're interested in me buying some stuff. They've got some workshop equipment to dispose of, so I'll go and have a look and see what they've got. I've probably got everything that they've already got, but there might be something that would be of interest that I can make them an offer on. God knows where on earth we're going to put it, because I've got a car to go on the trailer. We've got loads of other stuff to pick up as well. Poor truck's going to be pretty loaded up by the time we head back, but that's the nature of the beast. That's the South Island run. I always get home fully loaded. Make the trip well worthwhile, you know, because it's a long way, 4,500 k's, you know, 3,000 miles about. It's a fair run. That's good. The valve machine is bloody heavy, eh? They are heavy. They're really heavy. I had to get Ben to help me to move mine. And I've put some. Remember, I found that fault with the belt. Somebody had used the wrong belt on mine, so the motor was touching the workbench, and so I had no drive, so I had to elevate it up. And I found some nice anti-vibration mounts that I had spare from another job that I'd bought, and they gave it just enough clearance. But we had to tip it over and stuff, and yeah, it's bloody heavy. You've got to be careful with it as well, because the last thing you want is it flipping over, because it could break something. But yeah, I think picking it up on your own, I'd struggle. Ben would probably manage it, but I've done it. I had to move it from one bench to another when I was putting it sort of out of the way when I finished doing the video. And I had it on the bench, and I was able to lift it and hold it at that height and just swing around and drop it on the other bench. But to lift it, say, off the ground, or to walk around with it, a bit too heavy for that. Years ago, it wouldn't have bothered me. But you know, A, I'm a bit wiser now for me back, and B, I'm nowhere near as strong as I used to be. So you got to factor that in before you commit yourself to picking something like that up. Anyway, let me know what the audio's like. The wind has died down a bit. I'm assuming the picture's good, because we're in Oamaru, which has pretty much got the fastest internet I've ever come across in New Zealand, except now for my fibre connection at home. That's also really, really good now. I would say it's on a par, almost as fast actually, almost as fast as Oamaru. I uploaded a video here a couple of years ago at the place I was staying, the Mariners Suites, very nice. And it was well over an hour long, the video, which is about 11, 12 gigs file size. 7 minutes. Boom, it was up, done. It was so cool. At home on the old connection, that would have taken 8 or 9 hours to upload. Horrendous amount of time. Now, one thing where this pie is failing is the structural integrity. As you can see, it's falling apart. It's definitely a two-handed pie. We'll get rid of the bag, don't need that anymore. Now, I was warned by the lady, they've changed the recipe a little bit, changed it. So originally they did the same thing as Wild Bean Cafe. They put the jalapeno sauce in with the cheese sauce. Their supplier for that couldn't supply anymore, so they've actually got separate jalapenos in the ingredients, which makes it a lot hotter. And you can actually see them there, look. See the little green blobs? It is pretty stingy on the old tongue, this one. Ah, chain oil and pie. Nice. Oh no, I forgot. When you have food in Oamaru, the seagulls attack you. This could end in disaster. Go away. Get your own breakfast. Now then. Simon's stream is good. Thank you, Simon. Mike Adams. If you're like me, you'll most likely even get the equipment you don't know if or when you'll use it. You've got to have it just in case. That's exactly like me. Mike, we both think on the same lines. That'll be handy one day. While I've got a chance to buy it, I'll buy it. Yes, and I'm a bit of a hoarder, to be fair. Bugger off. There's some serious pie management going on with this one. I'm going to get attacked by seagulls. I know I am. Oh, that's 2 on the truck now. Let me show you. I'll turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. They're getting close. They're getting close, chaps. I might have to... If you see me run off, that's why. They're attacking me for my pie. I think they'd have a shock, though, being jalapeno in there. So, Roger. I can get 70 megabytes per second all the way out the bar now if I turn cameras off. Okay, the security cameras. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think at home, on a really good day, we're about 500 up, 500 down. And now we've put the LAN cable into the workshop. It's basically the same in the workshop, which is fantastic for the live stream. But saying that, on some days, you know, and I do a little speed test every now and again when I'm in the office, it's been as low as 120, and I don't know why. He's getting close. Go away. Where we get to? Oh, he's thinking about it. He's planning his attack. George Bonnie 90. Hello, everybody. Good morning, George. Welcome to Oamaru. There we are. The buggered off. They've given up. In the South Island of New Zealand. Now, sorry, a bit of glare on the screen here. Simon, on Workshop Tools, just installed the software for the Halitech carb sync tool. Nice. I like that. So you use your laptop with the Halitech one, hence why you've installed the software. I've not used a Halitech one. I've got that, is it Baytech? Out of Australia. The one that I used on the CB750 K2. Really good bit of kit. Really, it's very, very good to have that. And the guy sent me it free of charge. which was really nice of him. And again, it's one of those tools that it's there, it's in the background, and it's very adjustable as well. You can adjust the sensitivity of it. Obviously, you can only do 4 cylinders, but you know that covers most things, right? Most of the stuff that I work on's only got 1 or 2 if you're lucky. The Giants. Good evening, Andy and crew. How are you doing, Andy? I was pretty knackered yesterday, to be honest. This week, it's been pretty intense. There's been a lot of driving, a lot of road works, a lot of slow driving, just long days. And of course, you know, as I've said before, when you're driving, it doesn't stop the emails coming in. So the emails come in, the phone calls come in, it all sort of backlogs. So on an evening, you're trying to catch up. So it just makes for long days. So you burn yourself out. And I'm only 1 week in. I've got another 2 and a bit weeks to go on this trip. But, you know, having Mrs. Mechanic with me on this one, it does really help. She'll pack everything up and, you know, unpack when we get to the next place. It just takes a little bit of pressure off. I can get started on my emails a little bit sooner and carry on until she's all packed, and then we can get straight out the door. So it does help a little bit. So I'm very grateful for that. I suppose the flip side is, you know, the time taken to take her to a trail somewhere and then go and pick her up. But she's been very good. In the main, the trails have been very, very close to where I've been, so it hasn't really been an issue, to be honest. Just when she breaks down, I felt really bad, you know. I was sat there getting my hair sorted out, and there she is in the blazing sun, cooking away, waiting for rescue. A better man would have just gone straight out and picked her up. Yeah. Such is life. I do need a BB gun, George. You're absolutely right. But they've gone away. They've given up. They've realised that intimidation won't get them food. I imagine with a lot of tourists and stuff, first thing they do is start throwing the birds some food, and all that does is encourage them. Their food is out at sea. They should go and earn it and go and find some. Simon, it lets you email a report to the customer with a before and after sync with the values. That is really cool. Very informative for the customer, and they can literally see what you've done. And that's a very difficult thing sometimes with diagnostics and things and tuning. Obviously, you know, if you're putting it on the dyno, then you can show them a dyno. But you know, to be able to give them hardened evidence of what you've done is really helpful. It just helps to explain what's going on and how to prove that you've done the job. I know when I used to issue invoices on a regular basis, if it was a bit of a quirky one, I found a few problems, I'd actually, because I use Excel for my invoices, I'd put some photos in there, some small photos showing the problem and then showing it fixed. And that again helped customers understand what was going on. Either that, or I'd attach them to the email that the invoice went with. So they had all the information they needed to understand what had happened, and I wasn't bullshitting them, because unfortunately there are a proportion of customers out there that detest mechanics. I know, revelation, right? They think we're out to fleece them all the time, and the reality is things are expensive to fix, and often there's more problems than just the problem the customer knows about or thinks he knows about. It's gone. It was all right. The pastry was better than Wild Bean Cafe. It was stronger than the Wild Bean Cafe one from a jalapeno perspective, but it did suffer from structural integrity. Definitely a two-handed pie, and you needed good pie management for that one, for sure. Well, that is good, Simon. That really is good. Do you have to pay an annual subscription for that, or is it a one-off purchase and it just works for life? Interesting to know. So once we've dealt with Dunedin, we're going to head down to a little town called Balclutha, or the locals call it Clutha, and that's got the Balclutha River running through it, a big river. Quite a famous bridge. I think it's got 6 arches. There was a mechanic in Balclutha. I won't say where he was working. There was a mechanic there who decided to scale the bridge at one point and it was either a shopping trolley or a road cone that he put on top of the bridge. And I think he also rode over the arches on a BMX. In all cases, he got arrested for it. But you know, what a story, right? Classic chap. And no doubt some alcohol was involved prior to the expedition over the bridge. Not the traditional way either. But you know, he's a legend in that town now for doing that kind of stuff. I think there's been a truck hit one of the arches as well. There's some cables that dangle down, and he was a little bit too tall and he took some of the cables out. That was a while ago. Simon, buy the tool and that's it. That's exactly what you want, isn't it? There's nothing worse than annual subscriptions to pay for, you know, because they add up, you know, and it's more money going out of your workshop that you've got to earn to cover it. And sometimes it puts people off actually buying the tool in the first place because they're only going to use it every now and again, and it becomes a cost, you know, a regular cost, and it's a problem. So I've got Balclutha on Tuesday visit. That'll take most of the day because I'm doing basically these visits. A big chunk of the visit is to review the results of that PDI audit that I've been doing around the country. Dead, good. And in some cases, there's work to be done. So the best time to do it is while I'm actually on site. One of the dealers I did last week, this week, just gone, I was on site for 6 hours sorting stuff out. You know, and it was a pretty leisurely pace. We weren't rushing through it because it's education. You're trying to explain and teach people how things have to be done. And you can't rush it, otherwise they just don't take it in, you know. So much longer visits than normal because of this whole PDI element to it. But, you know, when I leave, they're pretty much up to speed, or there's maybe only one or two little things still for them to do that they can't do there and then. Signatures and so on for PDI inspectors. Maybe that guy's off that particular day, he's on holiday, so they can't sign the documentation until they come back, and then they've got to scan it and upload it, and then I can sign it off. But it's pretty involved. There's a lot to do, unfortunately, together with all the other stuff I have to do on these visits as well. And I only do 2 visits a year now. I used to do 4. So the amount of work to do, there's more of a backlog, right? There's more stuff to check and more things to go through. So the actual visit time is extended. When it was 4 visits a year, I can probably knock it out in about 2.5 hours. I'm finding now that without the PDI element, I can be on site for 3.5, 4 hours. And with the PDI, it becomes pretty much a full day in most cases. Unless, of course, you know, there's no problems, there's nothing to deal with. And I think, actually, the Balclutha dealer, green lights all the way. So that might be a slightly shorter visit. That'd be pretty cool, actually. And then from there, we head down to Gore, heading towards Invercargill. So we'll be staying in Gore. Got a dealer in Gore to go and see. And then Invercargill. I'll be in Invercargill for a couple of nights. Coming to see you, Roger, which will be nice. Looking forward to that. Not been around for a while. And there's another valve refacing tool down there that Roger's organised me to take a look at. Very nice. He sent me some photos. Can't wait to see that. And then from there, we then bounce back up. We bounce north again. So Invercargill's the southernmost point of this trip, which it usually is. We don't normally go down to Bluff. If we do, it's for fish and chips, and it's not part of the actual visit. You know, it's more of a social thing. Once in Queenstown, I'm in Queenstown for a few nights. I've got Mrs. Mechanic's car to put on the trailer, a little Suzuki Swift, which I brought down a few years ago for my youngest daughter to use. But she's bought a little Jimny now, same as Mrs. Mechanic's, which is really cool. She loves it. Snowy, it's called. It's all white roof, white body panels, and it's the same model. It's the Sierra version, so it's the higher spec one. And she's got a roof rack and an awning and all sorts of gizmos and gadgets put on it. It looks very, very cool. She wants to get a bull bar put on at some point, but couldn't quite afford the ARB bull bar at the time she bought the Jeep. They're about $3,000, you know, expensive. So we've put that on hold for now, but she'll definitely get one because it'll probably save her one day. You know what I mean, Ellie, if you're watching this. And then from Queenstown, I've got to do go and see Wanaka, Cromwell as well. So I think we see Cromwell on the Monday, back to Queenstown, and then over to Wanaka on the Tuesday. Got some training to do in Wanaka, so that's gonna be a long day. And then I've got to drive from Wanaka to Timaru, which is just north of Oamaru. So I'm sort of bouncing back to the east coast again, but that's about a 5-hour drive. So I might rearrange the accommodation so I can stop somewhere along the way. Otherwise, we're not going to get into Timaru till about 10 o'clock at night, which is a little bit too late, really. You know, I'm not supposed to drive after the 8th hour, so I'm told. Seems to be a rule that only applies to me, but anyway, I don't know. And then we're working our way back north up the east coast. I've got a visit in Timaru to do, and then a visit in Ashburton, and one more visit in Christchurch, and then we're homebound. And then once I get back onto the North Island, we're going to swing by the timber yard, which is just north of Wellington, to be fair. It's like an hour north of Wellington, and I've got just a few more planks to pick up for the deck because we were a little bit short. Now it might mean that Mrs. Mechanic has to drive her car home from that point, although I'm hoping to slide the planks under the car on the trailer and strap them down. Not too sure yet, work in progress. But if we do get the planks on the trailer with the car, it'll be a good load. Won't be overweight. It's a very, very good trailer. It's got a good payload. It won't be overweight, officer, but it'll look well loaded. It will. Jim K, very smart. Thank you, Jim. Mrs. doesn't require extraction. Well, she might require extraction today because she's still in bed. Yes, I woke her up this morning and she's like, it's too early. Turn the light out. It's too early. I'm going back to sleep. But then, of course, all the seagulls fire up, and the church bell rings every 15 minutes to let you know what time it is. It's very nice, very quaint. But once you've woken up, it's hard to get. I find it hard to get back to sleep in Oamaru. I just get up and go and do stuff. You know, it's more fun that way. No, I imagine that Mrs. Mechanic will probably require extraction again with her e-bike at some point on this trip. She's got quite a few rides planned, and I'm pretty sure they're not all going to go smoothly. Sheldon, morning Sheldon. Good to catch up last night, sir. Good morning, Andy, Mrs. Mechanic, and crew. There you go. What a top bloke. So I'm going to head down to Sheldon's workshop after the live stream. We've got Mrs. Mechanic's bike to fix, got the chain to refit. Sheldon's got the links for us, the quick links for the 9-speed chain. A couple of other things to have a look at while I'm in Sheldon's workshop, and then we'll head down to Dunedin. It's about an hour and a half's drive. It's just, we might even go the back way, just to make more of a drive of it, you know. Emma likes to go into the countryside and see the views. I like to get off the main roads as well, so why wouldn't you, you know? Jim K, how is she charging it? Well, she's brought the charger. Ben's given her a spare battery, so she's got 2 chargers, 2 batteries for her e-bike, and she just steals the electric from the room that we stay in at the motels or the hotels. You know, you can see the lights downstairs in the hotels flickering and dimming down because of the amount of power that's going into these batteries. Not really, but you know, yeah, I say it in jest. But she makes damn sure they're fully charged for every trip. And she's got the GoPro. I brought the GoPro down, so she's doing a bit of filming as well. So I don't know what she's filming, you know, but I'm sure she'll put together some kind of a video of her antics on the e-bike in the South Island, which would be cool to watch, see what she got up to. And there's some really interesting mountain bike trails, cycle trails in the South Island especially. There's a real good network. And I think next year, we've been talking about the idea of when I come down and do you know, my next run, probably in March next year, maybe April next year, I'll come back down once I've done the North Island dealers, and we'll bring Ben and Mrs. Mechanic, and I'll just drop them off somewhere. They'll do a week cycling together, and then I'll pick them up somewhere else. And Ben will definitely be up for that. Plus, Mrs. Mechanic will have Ben's skill set in the group to keep her bike fixed and on the road. Ben will be banned from taking his trailer, because his trailer's been a nightmare. It's always breaking down. We're always welding it up and making it better, but it never seems to survive the trips. It always seems to break somewhere. There's always a weak point, whether it's a weld or a bolt or a pivot or whatever it is. It always seems to cause him problems. It might be because he puts way too much weight in it. I don't know. He likes to carry lots of spare batteries. So that's how she's charging those batteries up, and she's doing a great job, and nobody at the motels has complained yet about their power bill, so we're all good. Simon, your new work truck not got an inverter like the Ranger? No, it doesn't, Simon. Yet again, another failing. The Ranger was brilliant because I could go and do a visit. Sometimes I do visit. I used to do. Still now, there's the odd place where I do 2 visits a day. And if I forget to put the laptop on charge in the first visit, then I can boost the laptop charge whilst I'm driving to the next dealer. You know, I can charge up other stuff. I can have, a USB charge that I can plug in, and gives a lot more power output than the cigarette lighter socket. It's just useful to have. And no, it doesn't have it. There's a lot of features in the Ranger that this Isuzu doesn't have. And it's forever beeping and gonging at you and stuff, you know. For example, if I get out of the car and leave the keys in, it beeps at you. If I get out of the car and take the keys with me, it beeps at you. It just beeps at you all the time. There's no logic behind it. It doesn't tell you what the problem is, it just beeps at you. And it's really annoying. It grinds you down over time. It's a horrible vehicle to have, and I would never consider buying one. And I would suggest, if you're looking at buying utes, you cross the Isuzu off the list. The Ranger was a brilliant machine. Both of them were really, really good. I had in this Isuzu a known weight in the rear on the tray, which was 509 kilograms. But I didn't know what the weight was initially. I just loaded the back of the truck up and went to go and do a delivery. And it was dry. It was wandering around the road. The back end was just loose. And I had to go quite slow, you know. It was hopping around. The suspension was struggling. And I'm thinking, man, it's not that heavy, you know. Whatever I put in the back, it isn't that heavy. Anyway, once I realised it was only 509 kilograms, I'm thinking, man, if that weight was in the Ranger, and I've had a lot more weight, I've had it way up to capacity of 1,000 kilograms, the Ranger didn't bat an eyelid. It just got on with it, you know. It handled, if anything, additional weight in the tray improved the handling. Whereas with the Isuzu, it was detrimental. It was horrible to drive. It really was. There's some bugs out now. They're starting to bite, little bastards. So, thank you, Simon. You've highlighted another failing of Isuzu with their utes. Yeah, it's going to get a cracked windscreen soon. I'll show you. In fact, I've just spotted it now. I'll show you what it is. Here we go. I don't think they can repair it either. So, I'm not sure if you can see it on. You should be able to see it on the camera. A stone hit the windscreen right on the corner here between the A-pillar and the windscreen glass. There, look. And it's chipped it. Now, it hasn't started to crack yet, but that's a classic start point for a crack across the screen. So with the cold and hot weather in the South Island now, because it's pretty cold on the night, pretty hot during the day, I'm expecting that to start cracking. So I'd have to have a new screen, most likely. I'll only put a screen in it if it starts to crack, but it probably will when I get back up to Auckland before Christmas. But I'll keep an eye on it. We'll see how things go. But I'm pretty sure they can't repair that because it's right on the edge of the glass. But yeah, poor truck. It's got quite a bit in the back already, and there's a lot more to go in, believe me. But once we get the car on the trailer, then we can transfer all the personal stuff, the bags and stuff, you know, paraphernalia for the trip. All that can go in the car, and that'll leave a lot more room on the rear seats above my toolboxes and stuff for more storage area of things that I'm picking up and stuff. So that'll take the pressure off once we've got the car on the trailer. Until then, it's getting pretty full, in all honesty. Although there is a couple of things I could put on the trailer right now, but for security reasons, they're better off in the back of the ute. So it's not ideal, to be honest. Simon, think after the Isuzu Trooper from the 90s, it went wrong. The Isuzu Trooper, the 3.1 Citation, I think it was, the diesel, they were brilliant vehicles. There was a lot of them around. I think the only issue with that engine was they would crack a cylinder. The cylinder wall would crack, and that was usually the demise of the vehicle. If it was, 10 years old or whatever, it just sort of wasn't worth fixing, and engines were hard to find because of that problem. But they did sell a lot of them. They were like a roundy shape, weren't they? They were pretty cool. A lot of our customers had them, brought them to the Quest, to the off-road site. So next weekend we're in Queenstown, and we arrive in Queenstown about lunchtime Friday, and I've got to go up to the off-road site, Off-Road Adventures. Oh, there's Mrs. Mechanic. Morning. There she is. Look, shall I show you where she is? Turn you around. Hang on, I wonder if we can zoom in. Can we zoom in? Will it let me zoom? Oh, it will. There she is, look, waving at you. Morning, people. Right, we're back. Good news, she's out of bed. Fantastic. Well done, honey. I have no idea what time it is. Oh, it's only 9:10. Oh, another confusing thing, talking about Isuzus, is I replaced the battery. As you know, the battery on it. It went for a service earlier in the year, not that long ago, and it turned out that checking the condition of the battery isn't part of Isuzu's standard service. Really? Anyway, so a few weeks later, the vehicle failed to start after about 3 or 4 days of being parked. I had a hunch it was getting a bit low. Charging's fine. It was the battery wasn't able to hold a charge. Its capacity was much diminished. And so I bought a new battery, replaced the battery, and of course it reset the clock. This car's got 2 clocks. It's got one on the dash, and it's got one on the console, on the screen. I've not been able to find the way of resetting that clock, changing the time on either of those. So we've now got, I think in the morning it shows about 3 or 4 p.m. on the dash, and the console clock is an hour out. It hasn't changed when the clock's changed here in New Zealand. So it'll be right again in a few months' time, but it's really annoying because sometimes you forget to add the extra hour, and it's like, oh, it's only 9 o'clock, and it's not, it's 10 o'clock. So yeah, the Ranger, the clock's married up. I think it only had 1 clock anyway. If it had 2, they were linked, they talked to each other. You'd set the clock and it did everything. It was dead easy to set the clock. It was in the functions. On this, can't find it. It says clock display, you click on that, but there's nowhere there to actually change the time. There's no hours and minutes and date and stuff. It doesn't exist. I don't know. You disconnect the battery at midnight. I know, Mrs. Mechanic said that, but I'm not getting out at midnight to disconnect it. But that wouldn't fix the clock on the dash, because that's not, that's way out. I don't know, maybe it would. I don't know. We'll have to give it a try. Maybe one night when I am up at midnight, which is quite rare, I will do that. We'll see what happens. But you shouldn't have to do that, should you, Simon? To be fair, you shouldn't have to do that. Didn't have to do it in the Ranger. When we were planning this trip, just before we set off, a few days before, there was stuff on the news about the South Island, about deep snow and snowstorms and blocked roads and coldness and things. So I said to Mrs. Mechanic, ooh, you better take plenty of warm clothes, because it looks pretty bad in the South Island. There's lots of snow and ice, and some of the roads are blocked with snow, and they're closed, and there's been accidents and all this other kind of stuff. So she packed loads of sweaters and jeans and all that kind of stuff, the warm clothes. And we get down here, get to Nelson, and we're sweating our nuts off. We get to Amber Springs and it's red hot during the night. Get to Oamaru yesterday, hot during the day, really hot. 25, 26, 27 degrees, and it's like, what's going on? Only last week there was deep snow on the mountains, and when you're driving down, you can see the mountain range that runs down the spine of the South Island, and there's only the odd one that's got a little bit of snow on the tops. I mean, was it the news guys just spinning the whole thing out of proportion? I don't know. So anyway, she's got hardly any clothes that are suitable for the current summer temperatures. Crazy. You know, you try and plan ahead, don't you? I shouldn't have said anything, really. Simon, the only thing I find with the Rangers is needing forescan to reset the BCM when bulbs blow. Really, I had to read that forescan very carefully because it sounded like something else, and I know what you're like, Sam, with your words. Yeah, that's really annoying, isn't it? To be fair though, on the Ranger, I never replaced a headlight bulb, never had to. I think the only bulb that was out was one of the number plate light bulbs at the back, and they fixed that during the service. Although I had to remind them that they hadn't done it, and they then did it. Yes, I told them at the start of the service, oh, by the way, it's got a bulb out of the back, could you replace that please? Oh yeah, no problem, Mr. Young, we'll do that for you. Got to pick the vehicle up, hadn't replaced the bulb. They were pretty bad service people, to be fair, but there was not a lot of choice. I had to go there. And I think the Isuzu lads are equally as bad. I mean, why wouldn't you just check the condition of the battery? It's not hard to do. Check the charging system, part of the service. You know? I'm sure they'd sell lots of batteries if they did it and, you know, make some more money for the workshop. At least give the customer the option. Hey, your battery's at 36%. Do you want a new one? Winter's coming. Do you want it to start every morning? Let's put you a new one in then. You know, that kind of stuff. Not hard. Not hard at all. Roger Heaps, Mrs. Mechanic might struggle to find any good trails that are open around here, as many closed due to trees down. Yeah, I did notice. Yes, thanks, Roger. I did notice yesterday the one that she broke down on yesterday when I dropped her. Sorry, when I picked her up, there was a notice board and somebody had scribbled on there that there was potentially trees down on that trails, and she didn't do the whole trail. Obviously, you know, didn't get it all done. So maybe it was further down the trees that were down, but. There was a trail that she did up in Nelson, and there was a tree down. She had to manhandle the bike over the tree. Yeah, maybe that's what sort of started the demise of the chain. You know, maybe it loosened the link a little bit. I don't know. Possibly. Things are, you know, it's not just coincidence sometimes, is it, when things fail? I think you're right. Sheldon, we had a few flakes of snow here in town. Wow. But snow doesn't stick around for long this time of year. No, we had snow years ago in Devonport, which is the other side of the harbour, just north of Auckland. I was working at a Firestone depot for a while, and it was June. Was it June? No, was it June? I don't know. Whatever it was, anyway. So we were busy working away, and it was red hot, and then suddenly it got really cold and dark, and then I looked outside again, and the car park out the front had it wasn't deep, obviously, it was just a layer of whiteness. To be fair, it was sort of more haily than it was snow, but it was a whiteout. Within 10 minutes, gone, you know. But nobody believed me that it snowed in Devonport, and it did. I was there, I saw it, and it wasn't one flake either. There was definitely some snow in it. So hopefully Mrs. Mechanic now has packed all the bags up and she's ready to go. I've got to go and check out soon anyway, hence why the live stream's only an hour long. The next live stream will be from Queenstown somewhere. I don't know quite where. The hotel that they've booked for me is not actually in Queenstown town centre, which is fine because I've got the trailer. It's out near the airport. Hopefully they'll have parking for the trailer. They've all been warned. First couple of places that I stayed at had no idea there was a trailer turning up. So I got onto the company that organises all the travel for me through work, and I said, would you mind just emailing them all please and letting them know that there's not just a ute coming their way, there's a trailer as well. And they knew there was a trailer because they booked the ferry, right? And you book the ferry, car and trailer. So somebody hadn't had the 4 coffees that morning when they were organising the trip, I think. But anyway, she's done it all now. It's all sorted. So hopefully they'll have some space all coned off ready for me when I get there, and it'll be a seamless experience in parking. Probably won't be. Anyway. So there you go. That's sort of this trip. And then when we get back, I've got just admin work, really. Just got to catch up with some admin. There will be a trip to Auckland. Oh, update on the lathe. Managed to get a hold of the lad at the college, Jacob. Had to text him a couple of times before I got a response. It does sound like everything's still on. I was getting a bit concerned. I'm looking forward to picking that lathe up. And I've said, look, I'm back from the South Island on the 26th, I think it is, of November. I'll be coming up to Auckland within the next 2 weeks from me getting back from the South Island. I really need to pick it up then. Do you think that's going to be feasible? And they said, yes, we should be fine at that point. So, but I'll let you know. I'll speak to the boss and let you know. So I'm still waiting for the I'll let you know bit. But there is at least some communication. He hasn't done a runner with all my money yet. But no, that'd be great to get that lathe in the workshop. Another lathe, a bigger one. Be able to make bigger things. It'd be great. So that's really about it, to be honest, chaps. Unless you've got any questions, I'm sort of about done here, really, for this live stream. I can't think of much else to tell you on this one. Everything other than Mrs. Mechanic's e-bike blowing the chain, and clearly, you know, she's just pedaling too hard. That's all it is. And I don't even know if it's actually a specialist e-bike chain. I know it's not the original one. It's one Ben's put on because it's got 2 quick links. The one that broke, and there's another one there, like you see. Another quick link. So he's extended the chain to make it fit. So that might be, and only Ben will know, it might be a standard mountain bike chain, not a dedicated e-bike chain. E-bike chains are stronger because there's more torque being transferred. They have a harder life, so they have to be more durable. So if it is just a standard one, again, that might be another reason why it's failed. But to be fair, Mrs. Mechanic doesn't pedal really hard. I don't think she does. You know, she just pootles around. Who knows? Maybe a stone hit it and knocked it loose. Anything could have happened, really. It does happen, unfortunately. And I'm not really a fan of those quick links, but they do help. You can fix them easily on the trail, so, you know, there's a benefit there. Roger heaps. You can drop the trailer here while down here if you want. Thank you, Roger. I might take you up on that, or I might just leave it in the warehouse that Rogers have just over the road, so it's undercover. It won't have the car on at that point, but I've got to go in there anyway and collect some stuff, so it might just be easy to leave it in there. But there is a possibility, if there's no room in there, it might be full of stuff, that I will just drop it off at your place for you know, maybe a night or so. I'll let you know. I will, but thank you for the offer. I do appreciate it, as always. Okay, crew, well, I won't waste your time. I think we're about there. Oh, Simon, hang on. Is the bed on the lathe the same size rails? Hang on. Is the bed on the lathe, sorry, is the bed on that lathe the same size rails on the bed? So any steadies you have will fit. Looks very much like a Boxford. I think it's bigger. I think they're wider than the Boxford. The whole thing is physically bigger. The bed's longer, the chuck's a lot bigger, the motor's a lot bigger. It really is a scale up to what I've got now. But the new lathe has come with loads of accessories. I think we had a look through the box a few weeks ago. It's a shame, you know, I don't want to get to the point where I don't use the Boxford anymore, because it's a really cool little lathe. I really like it, and it takes me back to my school days, because that's exactly the lathe that I used when I was at school in the machine shop. You know, so it has a lot of fond memories. But the new one, it's hardly been used. It pretty much is a new lathe. And all those accessories are all still wrapped in the wax paper and stuff, so it's going to last me for years. And I think if I buy any more accessories, I'll be buying them for the bigger lathe, partly because they're more readily available. But I do need to sort of chuck out for the Boxford. That's next on the list, really, because that chuck is the screw at the back, the spiral. that does the 3 jaws. There's a lot of bits missing, lots of broken bits, and it jams up. So I need to strip it. I need to get it taken off and strip it and clean it all out, and that'll probably tie me over for another 6 months. But I do need to look out for one. I was talking to the lads at Machinery House about a replacement chuck for it, and I said, oh, it's screwed on to the main shaft, and they're like, oh, that's an old style. I said, it's an old lathe. Oh, I don't think we can get those anymore. So I'm gonna have to try and source one from elsewhere. I don't think, well, they can't supply. There might be another supplier in New Zealand that knows exactly what I'm on about, but I'll probably have to take the chuck off and take it with me and say I need another one of these. And maybe at the same time I'll pick up a 4-jaw chuck as well, if I can get it, because that would be a real benefit on the Boxford. Something that I've really struggled, not, I've definitely missed not having a 4-jaw chuck for sure. But the new lathe doesn't have a 4-jaw chuck either, so I'll have to buy one for that. So if I'm going to buy one, maybe I'll just buy it for the new one, right? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If I can't get it for the Boxford, I'll get it. No, maybe the new one's the best one to buy it for, because I can do bigger stuff on. It's difficult, isn't it? When you've got more stuff, it gets complicated. Anyway, I think we're about there, crew. Thank you all for joining me. We're going to hit the road, head down to Sheldon's workshop. We've probably got an hour or so to do down there. And then we're off to Dunedin. And I'll see you again in Queenstown on Sunday. And I haven't forgotten about the video of the lake hop, the Mangakino lake hop. I just haven't had the time to finish that video off. Hopefully this afternoon in Dunedin, from the room, I can finish that video. It shouldn't take over long, maybe an hour's work, and it should be done, and then get it uploaded. And then you can join me having a wander around the Mangakino lake hop. It's pretty cool, actually. There's some really good stuff on that video, and it's very different to what I normally do. I don't think it's going to happen on a regular basis, but I thought, well, while I'm there, why not do some filming and show you around. Okay, crew, that's about it, I think. No more comments. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining. A little bit earlier than planned, 5 minutes early, but there's no point in waffling on, and Andy does waffle. All right, chaps, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again in a week's time. Cheers. Over and out. Try Scott's Machinery. Okay, I'll do that. Scott's Machinery.